place, you see her, you know ain't about you trying to knock her down the first day. You come back, and then you come back again, and you smile, and you know, make friends. It ain't even gotta be really about anything, but if you like her, it's really all about making a friend, man, and making a person feel comfortable. Obviously, you know what I'm saying, you can come if you got game and all of that, whatever. It ain't really about that. It's really about making friends, you know. Breaking that into that comfort zone, and you know, ask a girl out and they going. Man, if you're a nice guy. How I started playing bass, man, was my sister wanted to play violin. She wouldn't play it, but she had the instrument, took lessons, she wouldn't play it. When they would leave, my parents and her, I'd sneak and get it and play it like this, and I popped the string. So I'll get a whooping if I touched her instrument. A year later, the light went off in my parents' head and was like, wait a minute, he's breaking it, trying to play it, she won't pick it up. So things started to change, and I would just listen to music, and there was a Jewish synagogue. I was 9 years old, and my dad used to go to these Jewish auctions at this synagogue in Skokie, like just kind of west of Evanston, where I grew up at, man. And we went, and there was like, they would sell everything, kind of like Antique Roadshow. And man, I went with him one time, and that particular day I went, the first thing they held up was a bass. Wow. It was a copy of a Fender Jazz. And they said, $50, we're gonna start this at $50. You know, everybody's 70 plus. Yeah. Everybody, white hair everywhere. Nobody bid it. I'm like, Dad. He's like, oh, you want that? Raised his hand. Nobody else bid it. My first bass, my dad bought me a 9, was for $50. It had the pickup cover on it. Maple neck, I mean, but it was just a cheapo. But man, he used to come, go get your bass, you know. And then he went back the next day and bought the amp, a little $50 amp. Nice. And he'd come in and make his uncle say, play the bass. I was like, I just got it yesterday. Play that bass, boy. You know, gun over here, got his drinks, and then and I grew up listening to the blues. All my dad played was Bobby Blue Bland, B.B. King, Coco Taylor, whatever, forget her name. Yeah. And so I grew up hearing the blues. Like, my core foundation is the blues. That was my inception really into music. And then my sister gave me first album was Harvest for the World, Isley Brothers. Ooh. And it scared me when I listened to it. I thought that it meant it was relation to like the rapture. You know what I'm saying? You know, that song was so deep. Ernie. Yeah. You know, can you imagine to grow up on that and then have him in the studio?
That must have been. That's how I feel right now.
Man, you tripping.
I'm serious. That's how I feel right now.
Man, so I used to take it home, play to any record I could, and one day it kind of started making sense. I knew before the note that he was going there, and it kind of learned how to tune it, and I brought it to church. And one day I was terrible, and they used to be like, they didn't want me to play, but they had bought an amp. They had an amp. Right. And they let me bring it, they let me play it, and I would and I couldn't figure it out for nothing. They would like turn it off, you know, our church is going on. But one Sunday, after huge dedication, I just remember it was like the Spirit of God dropped down that by ear knowledge, and I just start going, and I just remember the whole church head did like this. Wow. And they all stood up, and I just was playing, and that was it. Ooh. And that's where it all began. It was literally like in the movie, like God downloaded the ability to play bass, like in the Matrix when he said, I want to fly that plane. Give me the program for what you need, just know how to play. That's the same thing that happened, bro. When those vamps came, I mean, I remember that song, and I do remember I went left a few times. I just went into my own zone, and that just was probably the culmination of a few things that, you know, I might have heard, a few things that I might have been vibing with myself, and, you know, if it's that basic change, you know, I just throw it in there. You know, me and Kevin had a little wink where we would know, like, okay, we about to go somewhere, because a lot of this stuff we rehearsed a lot, but a lot of it wasn't practice. We didn't practice it, so That I remember distinctly, you know, and the beat okay, so there's a little more coming to me. At that time was when, you know, synthesizers and drum machines were really becoming like, you know, a major part of production. And I remember I heard Anthony Jackson doing an interview, and he said he will always outplay any programmable bass keyboard. He'll never be outplayed by a synthesizer.
Yeah.
And I had seen that, and I remember I kind of was thinking, you know, actually, and I was doing bass synth on some stuff at that time, just like other productions. So I kind of started incorporating some of the things that probably was not so normal to play on bass as to play it on, you know, play it on bass.
Yeah.
You know, so I just kind of like started. I remember I said, what if I just find me a 3 notes, and I don't care where nobody else is going. I'm just gonna go back and forth and and I remember
It was revolutionary.
I remember at that moment everybody turned around and looked like, what the are you doing? What in the world are you doing?
No, what the
church?
are you
What are you doing?
Man.
Right. And I remember that. And I just that was a dope album. That was a dope little moment that happened right there. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that record. So honestly, man, I credit like a lot of the whole Tommy's thing, man, to like Milton Bronson, man, he was such a high level genius, man, and an incubator, man. He loved me, man, and he really opened up what he had, you know what I'm saying, to allow me to, you know, be myself, do my thing, and he loved bass.
Nice.
So I had favor, like, in that whole little pocket, because that was the trajectory, really, of everything else that happened after. I mean, he used to just be, we gonna play that bass, boy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be waiting for that bass, boy, you know. So I remember when we did the first Tommy's album, which is a crazy story. You know, Richard Gibbs used to play bass.
Yeah. Didn't he play bass for the Tommies?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's on the Miracle album. So
wow.
So It's Gonna Rain, like that whole album was Richard. And I remember Richard took me under his wing. Al too. You know, they all did. And Richard used to tell me, one day he came and he said, man, I want you to learn. I want you to pay attention. I actually want you to record. So I started recording the rehearsals. He's like, I want you to learn everything.
Rich.
All of the songs. I want you to know them. You know, they let me come play his bass after rehearsal, whatever, man. And I don't know whether he planned this. I think that he did. But I know whichever that next album was, he used to play for his mom. And everybody knew it doesn't matter what's going on. If Inez Andrew has a session, Richard's got to come after. They had a gig in Milwaukee, and we were telling him not to go, but you know he didn't have a choice because she was letting everybody know, I don't give up. You know what I'm saying? Man, it was a snowstorm. They got snowed in.
Oh wow.
This is the night of the recording.
The Tommy's recording.
The Tommy's recording.
Wow.
Now I was supposed to maybe play 1 or 2 songs.
Right.
I ended up having to play the whole album.
Wow.
And that was the inception of my introduction into the game, and that was God.
Yeah.
That was God. And, you know, I recall, you know, Richard, he got in. They actually got back, but the session was over. And he just winked, he kind of gave me a wink like he almost intended for that to happen.
Right. Yes, thank you.
But shaking in my boots, I remember. I knew the stuff.
I gotta figure out which album this is. So
I knew, well, it was the one. It was. I believe the Over and Over album.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That was your first.
So it was like I know it, but I don't know it.
Right.
But I know it.
Right.
And all I know is I got up there, man, and I was like in my mind, like, you know, like that moment, you know what I'm saying, meeting preparation. I have been rehearsing, I have been practicing.
Yeah.
And I just, and they had me right in the front. So I was in front of everybody, right next to Kevin, but like right in that little pocket there. So man, I just was so free. I just remember, and I made it through, man, and the session was done and everything was good and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. And so I remember when they mixed the project, and they sent the mixes, because we would be waiting for the mixes to come back, man, and they sent those mixes back. They had my bass so loud in the mix. And that was normally not really the case, man. And I remember even the label was saying, you know, we need to pull the bass back, it's kind of loud. And I remember Milton Bronson made instruction, don't you turn that damn bass down. I want that bass right where it's at. Woo. When that record came out, man, that bass, man, was like, it was in the mix. I used to go to cities, man, and we would go to cities and towns, man, and their cats was you know, waiting with banners, man. At gates, airports, would drive in on the bus. You know, I had like factions of guys that were like waiting for me. It was so nice. So I couldn't kind of believe that this was happening. And so then they come with the next single and the next song, and then we're working on the next album. And then Since He Came, and then, you know, Over and Over, and all of these songs and all of these, you know, we probably did, I think we might have did 11 or 12 albums.
Whew. Yeah.
And we were just cranking them out. So these records were coming out, man, and it just, you know, they just demanded that bass was definitely just an integral part, because Bronson loved it. Man, he put me on so hard. You know, rehearsals, people would come in with songs. You know, Darius have a song, Percy have a song, but really, by the time we got done, we would arrange the song. Like, Since He Came into my life, I said, hold on. Why don't we slow that down? Because just playing it as a bass player, it don't feel right. But if we slow it down, I'm thinking like Pink Panther, you know, dun-dun, dun-dun. So I was like, yo, dun, 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 dun. Like we creep dun, 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 into my dun, dun, dun. Pop, pop,
that's theater, man. The choir, I can see it.
So rehearsals was so gangbuster, out of control, because when the choirs would come in and they hear this change, we done changed the whole song, changed the whole vibe. When we would do the recordings that night, man, it was just like, and I love the choir, but I mean the band, man, was like, we were really, it was really a band out. The choir did their thing, you know, singers, all that, but I mean, we were just blessed, man.
So they told me you, like, they used to wait for you. They said that you would come in and you would plug up and you'd be like, bang, bang. And people would just go crazy. They told that story.
Man.
Is that true?
That's true. I'm not looking actually to be loud. I'm just really looking to be felt.
Yeah.
And so I would turn my amp down, get me a sound, my sound in the monitor, turn my bass all the way up, no matter where I'm at. I don't care. You give the full level of your bass. I have whatever my settings were, so you know it is my sound, but I would establish a sound in the monitor that was somewhat equivalent to all that I needed. And then everybody else would get me there in their monitors, and then what I do then is turn the bass. The bass amp was actually ever only on 2 or 3.
Wow.
So there would be like a stereo.
Yeah.
So when I would pull, I would just pull to know when I when I made that pull that it wasn't overbearing, but you could feel it and it would be heard.